I'm currently just into month 3 of my first Dutch style tank, and I think now is a good time to reflect some of the decisions I made. Here are the 5 things I would do different if I would start this tank today. But first, just give me a few seconds to recap the development of the aquarium. It developed quite a lot of algae in the first weeks. Green hair algae until week 4 and some brown hair algae, probably diatoms, until week 9. Right now, the tank has no visible algae except some BBA. The plants are growing well, especially the stem plants. Now let's get to the list. First, using powder soil. If you want to grow a plant like Monte Carlo or similar, I would highly recommend this, because small delicate plants can have difficulties to establish a root system strong enough to hold them down in the normal soil. Especially if you keep a mano shrimp, you will be sick of replanting every day very fast. That's why I have used powder soil in my 100p setup. Second, leaving space between plants. Although this tank looked grown in and lush pretty fast, I now have a lot of maintenance because of it. That's why I planted in separate patches in a 100p setup. This is even more important if you plan to grow very fast growing plants like my Limnophila sessiliflora right here. They will overtake their neighbors quickly. Third, not fertilizing from day 1. This was mentioned in the comment section of the 28 days video on the development of the tank. Fertilizing from day 1 is not optimal for sure, because it just feeds the algae in the first weeks. The plants will not have completely transformed into their submerged form in the first weeks, which means they will not be able to take up all the nutrients of the fertilizer yet. Also, there often is not enough plant mass at the start of a setup. So, if you want to have an easy start with your aquarium, start fertilizing at week 3 or 4 and slowly increase the amount of fertilizer you add until you are at the desired amount at about week 7. I will go into this further in an update video on my 100t aquarium, where I specifically talk about the cycling decisions I made at this setup. Next, cutting plants less. I felt really motivated at the start and wanted to do as much as possible to make the tank look as good as possible. That's why I started to trim the plants very early. Now on one side this is necessary to get this lush plant look, because if you want your stem plants to look like this, they need to start to spread right below the ground. But I also felt like the plants were kind of slowed down because of the frequent pruning. And some parts even started to grow unhealthy and get algae. Especially the Ludwigia didn't seem to like it. That's why I will not trim that much in future setups anymore, and definitely not at the start when lots of plant growth is needed to prevent algae. And lastly, doing more water changes. I did one 50% water change every week. And although I achieved stability over time, it would have been a lot easier if I had done 2 or 3. The more water you change, the more uncontrolled nutrients you remove from the tank, and the algae will not like it. Of course, after the first few weeks, you will have to pay attention if those water changes are compatible with your fertilization, but at this point your plants should outcompete the algae on their own anyway. But for the first few weeks, frequent water changes are essential. I hope that this video will prevent you from making those mistakes as well. Have you made mistakes cycling your tank? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.